The HR Happy Hour Network is sponsored by WorkHuman. AI is everywhere, but here's what most headlines miss. AI is only as good as the data that feeds it. WorkHuman has built the world's deepest well of recognition data, peer-to-peer messages celebrating real achievements in the workplace. Now they're using AI to transform this data into actionable people insights. For the first time ever, companies can discover hidden skills across departments, spot quiet leaders, identify who needs support, and understand their people dynamics at scale. It's called human intelligence, and it's so powerful that WorkHuman guarantees measurable cultural improvements that drive business results. Head over to workhuman.com to learn more. WorkHuman, a proud supporter of the HR Happy Hour Network. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the At Work in America show. My name's Steve Boese. I'm with Trish Steed. Trish, good morning. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning. It is a gorgeous morning in Colorado today, so I'm doing fantastic. I have the windows open. It feels a little bit like fall, which I am ready for. How about you?
Yeah, I am well, thank you. There is a magic time of the year where we can not turn on our air conditioner nor turn on our heat, right? And I think we're in that window right now for like at least 72 hours. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I am so excited to be here. It's late summer, heading into fall. Lots of stuff coming up on the network, but we have a great topic today. I'm really excited to talk about this. One of the hallmarks of this show, really, Trish, since we rebranded or
Mhm.
expanded into Outwork in America, is stories that talk about opportunity and access to opportunity in the workforce specifically, right? We've done
Right.
so many of them. They're my favorite topics. And we have one of those topics today. Uh, I want to welcome our guest. She's Patricia Gill. She's the Director of Workforce Development and the leader of the HOPES program, which we're going to learn about today. That's part of the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. And it's all about providing opportunity to people in the workplace, specifically in the restaurant industry. But Patricia, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you. I think similar to Colorado, DC is experiencing one of those nice between times where we're like out of the muggy August heat and starting to feel a little bit of fall, a little bit cooler temperatures, good time to be outside, walk the dog, and all those things. So, yeah,
Oh, that's
doing
good. I
great.
was there for 4th of July, actually, and I had forgotten how hot it gets in Washington, D.C. I mean, it is hot, so I'm sure you appreciate the weather now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have wonderful year round. Don't want to talk bad about DC. We have great
That's right.
free museums you should come see and all that. But this time of
Yeah,
year is so nice when you start to feel that little coolness of fall and gets a little crisp.
Yeah,
mhm.
So
exactly.
I love DC, and it's been too long since I've been back. I love the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery is like my favorite. I love that place. I have to get
Really?
back
Oh,
there.
yeah, we hit in 4 days, I think we hit every museum and every, like, monument we could possibly attend, so we were all over the place.
Awesome.
and
Memorials.
we have pandas again. So
I know, that happened right after I was there, I think it was, like, so, yeah, missed the pandas this time, but I'll have to come back.
That's fantastic. So Patricia, welcome to the show. We can talk about DC some more if you'd like to, but we could also talk about what you're doing and what the NRAEF is doing. So maybe let's learn a little bit about that, right? Let's talk a little bit about your role, what you're doing there, and let's get into the details of some of these programs and how they're helping lots of people get back into the workforce and get into opportunity.
thank you so much. Yes. So, as you mentioned, I am the Director of Workforce Development at the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. And we're really about providing opportunities for people from all backgrounds to get training, credentials, work, and career advancement through opportunities in our industry. And I think, what's wonderful about the restaurant and hospitality industry is the whole be our guest kind of mentality. You come into your favorite restaurant or um, hotel or vacation spot and you just feel immediately welcome. And so that makes it not only a great place to come as a customer, but a great place to work and with all the different pathways that there are, it really makes it a great place for people to have first jobs or second chances or anything in between. Um, so what
Yeah.
we've been doing, and you mentioned opportunities, is we
Mhm.
just provide opportunities for people who are just starting work through something called Restaurant Ready, as well as for people who have had some justice impact through a program called Hopes.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that as I was looking through the information, both online and that we received in advance, one of the things that really struck me was all of the ways that you are focusing through those programs on skills and competencies.
Yes.
And that's something that we hear a lot in our industry, just holistically. And it's not often that we get to talk with a company and an organization where you're actually putting this into practice every single day. So, could you maybe talk a little bit about how competencies and whether you're maybe entering the workforce for the first time, like you mentioned, or maybe you're re entering, right? How do those come into play for you as you're working with your clients and their potential employees?
Wow. Thanks. Great question. Thanks for asking me about that. So, one of the kind of statistics you'll always hear is something like, 80% of restaurant owners or managers started at entry level. And people love to hear that. But all the entry level people are like, okay, but how did you get there? So, here at the foundation, we've really identified sort of this competency based career pathway where people can come in at entry level and then develop the skills that they need to not only stay in their job, but to advance into those other positions that they're interested in. Um, and we have a program called Restaurant Ready, which I mentioned earlier, where we actually talked to industry and said, what is it that you're looking for when someone comes into your workplace? And what we heard from them is it's not knife skills or how to make that special sauce, because we can teach that when they get here. It's being work ready. So having that personal responsibility to know how to show up on time or actually a little bit early, in your uniform, knowing what your role is, knowing how to be a good team member, knowing how to communicate with others. So our restaurant ready work readiness program really focuses on just getting people ready to go into work. And again, we really develop that with industry. And so it's really meeting that need for entry level and developing. It's not, oh, give someone a job because it's a nice thing to do. It's give them a job because they've got the competencies and skills to be a really positive addition to your workplace and your team.
Mhm.
What I found interesting about some of those, Patricia, is that they aren't things that someone has to necessarily go to school for, right?
Mm.
These are things that are more about your attitude and how you show up for people and how you show up for your colleagues and your customers, right? So for me, it really makes it accessible to everyone, right? If you're in the right mindset and you really want to have a good job and work hard and just make people feel like a guest, this
Mhm.
is something that's attainable, I guess, is my point. Do you find that people who are sort of approaching it with that mindset feel like this is actually something that's quite attainable for them?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to have that sort of sense of mastery and future, like I'm good at something and there's something that I can do. But you've got to know the rules, and the rules change throughout your life. So, for the first 12 or so years when you're in school, if you're sick, you just don't go to school. And then you show up 3 days later with a note from your mom, and that's fine. That's what you do, right? You go to the office, you have the note from your mom. If you don't go to a job for 3 days and then you show up with a note from your mom, you've already lost the job. But up till now, your mom has been the biggest authority in your life. You're like, but I have a note from my mom. So really learning that at a job, this is the rule. Or another example is most of life, if you see somebody, messing something up, you stay out of it. You don't get in their way and you don't get into what they're doing. But when you're working as a team at a restaurant or a hotel and you see someone struggling, you are supposed to jump in as a team member and say, "Hey, I see you're a little behind with your tables. Can I help you?" Or, "I see that you're behind on whatever you have to finish before the end of the shift. Let me jump in." So it used to be sort of like stay in your own lane, but when you're working as a team, you don't. So learning the rules so you can be successful is really important.
Patricia, thank you for sharing some of that. I'd love to know a little bit more. Let's keep talking about the Restaurant Ready program specifically before we sort of transition to the Hopes program. How does it work sort of practically? So how do folks who might be interested in these careers and learning these skills, how do they find you, or how do they get introduced to the program? And then and then consequently, how do you guys help them find placements, and start their career paths?
So always we work in what we like to call a community collaborative model where we're working with existing organizations in the community. So for depending on the population, if we're working, for example, in hopes, we might work first starting with sort of justice agencies to identify justice impacted individuals. If
Mhm.
we're doing a program with young adults, we might work with community organizations that are working with young adults. And then we partner them with our Restaurant Ready or Hope site. And that is a community based organization that can provide the specific training that's needed as well as the supports that someone needs to get to work, whether that's transportation or, a white shirt and black pants if they're going to do
Mm.
catering or all those things that make you able to go to the job. And then our last partner is our state restaurant associations. Um, and I don't know if you know this because I didn't know this before I worked for the National Restaurant Association, but there is a state restaurant association in every state. And their job is to be that liaison between industry and community and individuals. So in every state, we're partnering with the State Restaurant Association as well as those community-based organizations. So if there is someone in industry who's like, "Hey, I'd like to hire some of this talent," they can connect with their State Restaurant Association. If there's an individual in the community, they can connect with their State Restaurant Association, or they can connect with a community-based organization that's offering the training and support to get people into the work.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think that's the challenge, right? You can have all these great programs and teach these great skills, but making those connections, right? Often it becomes the challenging part. And we've had some shows in the past where we talked about sort of that difficulty, particularly when, agencies get involved and there's maybe some bureaucracy, who knows, and
Yeah.
rules can change, et cetera, right? And it's really got to be about making these programs accessible, driving awareness for them, right, to the community, because I think there's lots of folks out there ready to step in, ready to get involved, but just need some assistance, right, in making those connections. And it sounds like you guys do a great job of helping to facilitate those connections.
Yeah, and I think that connection to industry is really important because if you get training, but then you still have to go knock on a bunch of doors to even get in, that can be really stressful. And how
Mhm.
many no's do you hear before you just give up? But our having that direct connection through the state restaurant associations to industry and to employers who are looking to hire is really helpful. And what we can do on the national level is we create this model so that they know what is restaurant ready. We've identified competencies that are going to be across all states and all organizations so that industry can know that these individuals have these specific competencies and skills, and that those competencies and skills travel with them. They're transferable no matter where you go. Having that personal responsibility and knowing how to be part of a team and knowing how to communicate with people in a workplace environment is going to help you and it's going to make you successful.
Yeah, I can imagine that, if I'm the employer too, this is taking quite a bit of the heavy lifting from acquiring talent off of my plate, which that's really always a complaint from all employers, right? The whole process that you have to go through to source good talent and then to actually put them all the way through the process of hiring to even understand if they might have the competencies and skills you need. You're really helping these state associations and the employers kind of quickly get through that phase, right? Just by making those connections, introductions. And, it seems like it's a win win for everybody, right? For both the potential employee and for the employer. What kind of feedback are you getting from the restaurants that do participate with you in this effort?
Well, it's interesting. One thing that we have heard from employers, prior to the program is that they have they interview great people, but then they don't show up to work and they never know why. And so, one great thing about our program is that our participants have already gone through the program, so they know how to show up on time.
Mhm.
But then there is also that support of the program to make sure if day of their car breaks down, we're helping them get to work or communicate to the employer what happened, or day of they don't have childcare, we're helping figure that out, or at least the employer has that, oh, this is what happened. This is why Patricia didn't get there day one versus just wondering what happened. And we have had, if I can, brag a little bit for a minute, or just
Please
really more
do.
like be proud. Um, with our HOPES program, which is our Justice Impacted program, we see statistics that 70% of individuals who come out of incarceration are not working a year after they have left the facility. And we have almost flipped that on its head because we have nearly 70% of our participants get employed. And what's more exciting is 6 months out, we have something like 80% retention, and a year out, we have 70% retention. And if you ask any employer how many people are still there a year later, it's 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 nowhere near that. And when we look a little further into that, 65% of those people are at the exact same job. So if you could have people come
Mhm.
and then not only show up day one, but be there a year later, that's really powerful business and for industry, because then you've got someone, and we've seen this happen with our participants, who can come in entry level and then become a shift leader, a trainer, an assistant manager, and you're really building your team. And, you mentioned this, Trish, you train someone and then they leave and you've got to train another person.
Mhm.
But if you have someone who stays, not only do you not have to retrain, but they can train the person that's coming in behind them. So it's really great for business. And I think even more importantly, it's really great for that individual, because having a job is one of the uh, things that's most tied to not recidivating. People who have work are much less likely to get to reoffend or to go back or violate probation or any of those things. So those are just amazing results, not only for industry, but also for the individual and for the community.
Right.
Yeah, a couple things here, Patricia, that stand out for me is one is those are remarkable retention rates for folks who've gone through the program, especially in the restaurant industry, right? I don't have the number in front of me, but it's the turnover in restaurants is notoriously high, right? The six
I've
month
heard like
turnover, the 1 year turn.
200% or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy, right? Crazy. So those statistics and those outcomes are remarkable. And the other thing that strikes me too is, just from our, admittedly limited exposure to this topic, we've done a couple of shows on it. I've read one or two books about this, is that restaurants often seem like they're a little bit more maybe have less stigma around those folks who are re-entering, right? They're a little bit more open, a little bit more welcoming. They've always had the reputation, many of them anyway, is a place to get another opportunity or a second chance, whereas other industries less so, right? That's just the truth of it. And so I do think that combination can work really well. And the numbers are, remarkable, Trish, right? And Patricia, we've talked about this on the show, is the percentage of folks in the US, adults in the US, especially men, who've had, encounters and, with criminal justice and is remarkably high. It is very, very high. And we know that for many organizations, finding and keeping people is, such a challenge. So embracing this talent pool is critical. So there's so many good things about this program that not only your outcomes, but just how much sense it makes. I guess there I made a speech. I apologize for doing that, but
You were
I
saying things though, so go on, go on.
well, what I would like to, be my question though, Patricia, would be like, are there differences in some of those core skills or fundamental kind of skills that you guys work on with folks who are coming back from reentering versus say that maybe folks who are kind of doing their first kind of career? Is it a different set of things you focus on, or is it really the same things? Teamwork, collaboration, show up on time?
I think it's always we always are focusing on the same competencies and competency areas, but sometimes there's different things that need to be tweaked or there's different supports that are needed. So, for example, um, if someone is coming out of incarceration, they may not have identification. Um,
Mm,
they may not have familiarity with the latest like technology and
mm.
iPhone because we know your iPhone, if you look away for 6 minutes and look back, something's changed. But so some of the digital divide
Mm,
may be a factor depending on how long they've been out of community.
Mhm.
Definitely things like having identification, having a place to stay, some of those supports may need to be in place. Um, but the rest of it, personal responsibility, a lot of them have experienced a lot of responsibility. So they really are very good on personal responsibility. Actually, we'll see some things are stronger. I mean, communication sometimes will be stronger, sometimes not, but it always is individualized anyway. And so we're talking about hopes, but with Restaurant Ready, we've used it with a lot of different populations. We've used it with young adults. And so there's some communication things with young adults who like to text versus talk to people face to face. We've done a lot with people with disabilities, and depending on the disability, communication may look a little different, personal responsibility may look a different. So it's always those same competencies because everybody wants those same things in their workplace. And then it's individual tweaks on personality and experience, and then supports again, depending on what their community is like and what their circumstances are like.
yeah.
Great.
I'm glad you mentioned it's the other categories as well, right? It's not just formerly incarcerated, it's anyone. I think as individuals, we all just want someone to see us and
Yes.
to see we have value. I remember I started my career working at Manpower, and
Oh,
so I would say 80% were, in the manufacturing, right? And so
hmm,
it's the same kind of idea. As individuals, I wanted them each to understand they were very important to me. I really wanted them to find a great job, and I found that if I invested my personal attention in someone, they were much more likely to stay.
right.
Um, and but there was never the issue back then was there was never a way for me to scale this. And so what you're doing is actually being able to take that at scale and make people feel seen and respected and valued, heard. Um, and I think then if you're talking about the rates, like Steve, you mentioned the really, high retention rates, I think that's because for many people, any people, when you find a job where you feel like you're part of it, you're part of something bigger than yourself, you feel special, right? And
Yeah.
especially if you're serving someone, serving the public, and then you're getting that good feedback. It's hard to walk away if those things are occurring. So to me, I just wanted to say I feel like whether we're talking about the Restaurant Ready program or the Hopes program, I think both of them are doing things to where the person really feels not just valuable, but like they are adding to it. They're adding to what the restaurant or company is trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think um, restaurants and hospitality is one of those sectors when you get public opinion, it's one of the ones that has like sort of the highest public opinion. Like everybody has great
Mhm,
restaurants where they can remember going for a birthday or an anniversary or someplace that they went for a vacation. It's usually people are mostly there for a positive reason. And so you're getting to be part of that
mhm,
experience. And so many different career pathways. You can be what we traditionally think of, maybe in the kitchen or front of the house serving, but there's also accountants and there's HR in
Mhm.
restaurants, technology, and there's the supply chain. And then when you get into a hotel, that's like a whole city. So if you are a
mhm,
mechanical person, you can be doing that at a hotel. If you like to drive, you can be a driver for supply chain or for a hotel. So there's such a wide range of possible careers that everyone can find, sort of like what you said, Trish, that place where they're valued and they feel like their skills are adding to the team.
mhm,
And I did want to mention when you talk about different populations, we've also got programs that work with veterans. We've got programs that work with
mhm,
youth age foster care. And then we've got programs that are in high school. We have something called Pro Start that works with high school juniors and seniors in restaurants, and management, as well as culinary. So there's really sort of entry places for anybody who's, got, looking to build their skills and looking to build their credentials and find a place where they can come and Of course, we hope everyone comes and stays, but they could also come, I mean, and get skills and go elsewhere. I think, what is it, about 2/3 of adults have worked in a restaurant at some point in their life, usually like in college or whatever. And then for some people, it's just great people skills and they go elsewhere. And then other people, they come and like some of our participants, they stay.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And as you said, Patricia, so many of these, really all of these skills are super transferable.
Hmm.
They're relevant in any career field, really, that you might move into. If you move about the country, right, you can take those skills with you and start up a new career in a new place, right? They're all meaningful. They're not limiting, actually they're expanding, right? They expand your opportunity and they
Oh,
expand
yes.
your options. Yeah, it's fantastic. I just love this. I think about how uh, in the US, right, the chances are really good that in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be like, oh my God, there's no people. We can't find anybody to work, right? Through a
Mhm.
combination of economic expansion, hopefully, but also just some demographic things that are happening in the labor force. There's something like 25,000 baby boomers retiring every day, right, in the US, right? And the numbers of people coming in are less, right? They're fewer. And then
Mhm.
a whole nother story could be 10 years down the road how like the birth rate's declining so much in many places. We're just not going to have workers. So expanding opportunity to people, giving them a chance, sometimes a second chance, but sometimes a first chance, right?
Yeah.
And it is going to be so important for both for these industries, for these people, and certainly for the overall kind of economic vitality of the country, right? I think it's fantastic. I think Patricia, I guess the last thing I would want to ask you to share, if you could, is we talked a little bit earlier about folks just becoming aware of these programs, getting involved, getting connected to them. If you were, let's do two sides of this. First would be just an individual, whether you're a young person or maybe you're a person who's had some issues in the past, whatever they may be, and you're looking, hey, this sounds really good. I'd love to maybe try to acquire some of these skills. This would be a good option for me. If I was just a person, what might you recommend to that person? And if it varies depending on where you live and stuff like that, that's okay. But like, just how could people sort of engage with the NRA and these programs?
Well, there's a couple different things. You can go to our website, chooserestaurants.org. And that way you can find out where all of our restaurant ready programs are and see if there's one in your community or near you.
Love it.
You can also go to your state restaurant association to find out about industry and opportunities in your area because they will be directly connected to who's hiring in your area and also be able to help you connect to any restaurant ready or hopes or pro start or any of those other programs in your community. um, Hopes did just uh, be lucky enough, be honored enough to be awarded 2 additional federal grants from the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
Um, so we are expanding. We'll be in 12 more states. So you can definitely also come to chooserestaurants.org to see if your state is one of those states. I don't want to try to list 12 now because I'll probably
That's
get
okay.
to be able to remember the other two. But so that's something too to look at that. And if Hopes is not yet in your state, we can also work with the Restaurant Association because, as I mentioned, we really do that community collaborative model where we work with justice agencies, community-based organizations, and state restaurant associations. So every state has the ingredients to create that sort of pathway. Um, so again, come to our website, chooserestaurants.org, or connect to your state restaurant association and that way they can be part of just this amazing opportunity, I really think, to help individuals and communities and for people to come into a great welcoming industry.
Patricia, thank you. I love it. I think this is such an awesome program. I'm thinking about it like going out to eat, today, hopefully. And just, I mean, but people love it, right? I mean, I don't want to get into all the weeds of it, but like people love to engage with their favorite places, right? It has so much meaning in their lives, right? The people who go out to restaurants and all of us really, right? And, you know, if a favorite restaurant brand goes as far as changing their logo, there's an uproar, right? As we saw this week, right?
Yeah.
But that tells you something, right? It's
Yeah,
indicative of the place that these businesses and these restaurants have in the fabric of many people's lives. It's very important. I'm not downplaying it at all.
it is. You're making me hungry just talking about it, honestly. I think we all have those favorite dishes,
Yeah.
those favorite restaurants, those favorite
Mhm.
memories.
But the
Yeah,
key is, right, people have to do that. There's a kitchen full of people and a back house full of people and the front of the house people and everybody else, right? That they don't just appear out of the thin air, right? These
and there's
experiences.
people actually who, like, think of the recipes. There's the flavor people, and, there's
Mm.
people out there all the time who are thinking of, like, new variations of dishes, and that's a whole job too, and the people, that work for these large companies thinking of new products. So there's just so many, great individual skills and talents that go into that delicious dish that ends up in front of you at your favorite
Yeah.
restaurant.
You
Love
make
it.
me wanna, like, quit my job and go work at a restaurant, like No, I'm so glad you've mentioned all the different parts of the business that people can be involved in and have their valuable skills and contributions, make that difference for the individual that receives that plate at the end of the long chain of things that have to happen for it to get there.
Yeah, this is awesome. Great stuff. Patricia, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. I learned a lot today in the prep for the show, but also from talking to you. I don't want
Mhm.
to put you on the spot because I know the NRA's got lots of members, so I won't ask you, Patricia, unless you feel like you want to weigh in. But Trish, I'll ask you, like, what's your go-to if you're going out to eat today? Where are you going?
We actually have a restaurant here in Fort Collins, Colorado called Jax, Jax. It's a
Mm,
seafood restaurant. We go
Nice.
every single Tuesday. Like, it's a routine, but it's also just something I look forward to. I think that's part of, what we've been talking
mhm.
about. You not only have good memories, you want to build it into your future plans, like, on a regular basis. What about you? Do
Awesome.
you have a favorite?
I have so many. I'm like, I like Panera a lot. I
Mhm.
like I Indian food quite a bit, but I'm like I'm like a 90% vegetarian at this point, so I'm
Okay.
strategically like picking my spots. But yeah, but it's great. There's so many options and so much opportunity. Patricia, I mean, I'm hungry too now, quite
You know?
frankly.
Kind of a fun new thing I did without giving a specific place is, where they have those places where it's like a food hall. So you
Mm.
because I
Mm,
love all the food. I am a person that, anything almost like tapas or where you can do a bunch of appetizers because I like to try
Yes.
a few different things at the same time. So one of these kind of emerging, concepts really are these food halls where you've got a bunch of different foods all in one place. So, like, last night, I was at a place where they had tacos, but they also had pizza, but they also had, sushi.
Mm.
They also had, like, a place that they made you, like, these fresh fruit juices, so we had a little bit of everything.
I
So
love it.
it was just, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Love it.
yeah. Can I give
Good
a shout out
stuff.
to a
Yeah.
DC one since you're
Mhm.
in DC? We'll see if you've been there. Kitchen and Cocktails.
Mm.
Oh,
Have you
I know
been
that
there?
one. Yes, yes.
Oh
I
my goodness.
I've heard great things. I haven't personally been there yet, but I've been hearing
Oh,
about it, so I'm gonna put it
Patricia,
on my
you must go. Like, if we were talking a lot about just all the people that are involved. From the moment I walked in there, it's in DC. I know they have other locations as well, but yeah, the moment we walked in as a family, they were so warm and so welcoming. Service, phenomenal. Food, phenomenal. So that's my DC recommendation.
There we go.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what we wanna hear,
All
I
right.
mean,
So we're going to tell people to go to chooserestaurants.org,
right?
chooserestaurants.org. Check out what you can, how you can get engaged with these programs, with the Hopes program, Restaurant Ready program, and what the great stuff that the NRA is doing. Patricia, thank you again so much. It's a great conversation. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you both. This was fun.
Awesome. Trish, great
Thank you.
stuff. Want to thank our friends at Work Human, of course, for all their support of the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of the conversation today. Trish, I'm hungry, so maybe we should let
I
everybody
am
go.
now too.
All right, good stuff. Check out all the shows on the network. I heard, Trish, a rumor, a new title is coming on our network soon. I don't know
A
if you
new
know
title
anything about
is
that.
coming. Yes, you'll have to stay tuned.
Okay.
Oh,
Great stuff. Okay. Thanks for listening to the show. My name's Steve Boese. Go to hrhappier.net for all the archives. We'll see you next time, and bye for now.
bye.